because people don't understand that your identity profoundly impacts your money and who you believe that you are. And so no matter what business deal didn't happen early on, for me, I knew what was possible. And I knew, like Toni said, I'm a daughter. And so it's hard to heal what you lack an identity for. And so it's important, if in this season, if you want to shift your money, I have to identify that wealthy identity. And you do that by healing. You do that by getting in environments that help you grow. When they saw the man laying down at the gate called Beautiful, and he was like, hey, nobody's come. He had an excuse. Nobody's giving me nothing. Nobody came and put me in the water. Nobody, Toni said, yeah. Nobody did this, right? And he didn't pay attention to any of that. He says, listen, he had to execute something. He says, stand up, take up your bed and walk. And so I think it's important now. Why? Because the people that surrounded him, the Bible says he had blind people. Are the 6 people that you're hanging around in this season, are they blind? Do they lack vision? They don't know who they are. They don't know where they're going. Are they impotent? Are they comfortable with staying stuck? Right? Do they constantly complain about their life, but don't do anything to try to solve it or help out? Like, are they impotent in their faith? And so we have to start looking like, what is our true identity? Our true identity, notice God shifted him by removing him from where he was. And so as believers, we have to start looking at, is my environment was keeping me back or keeping me broke? Is it my mindset that's keeping me back, keeping me broke, like my belief system? Right? Is it below? Where is the resistance? The resistance to abundance is always in your thinking. And so I would leave to say, find out who you really are, because identity profoundly impacts right away. Toni says, Leah, don't put me in that boat with them sheep. He ain't called me sheep. He called me daughter. Right? Only a person who understands their identity can make those statements. And so we have to look at ourselves, look at where we are versus where we want to be in life. And we got to check that identity. What do I truly believe? Because nothing we say can do anything for you if you don't truly believe it. Terri, I can see you taking notes.
You listen, you already know. Ain't no point in me just coming here and hearing it, because like, I'm thinking about the master plan, the next plan. Like, listen, that was good. That was so good. Thank you so much for all you do, just in all of who you are. You're that girl. You're that woman. And I am so grateful to God for you. I am. You are beautiful inside and out. I love a person who's not just want to talk about it, but who can be about it. It's not about just hearing an experience without living an experience. So thank you so, so very much. I love you so dearly, and I appreciate you. My life will never be the same. Will never be the same. Thank you. Toni, you next. My life will never be the same without you either. She told me, I was thinking about the IP, right? And so we had a meeting, and she was saying to me, I was like, I got the LLCs you told me. And she was like, well, the IP need a separate LLC. Right. So get it. Like, let's move some stuff around. And
because even believers will take your stuff and use it. Like, I watched one of my coaches, LaShawne, with that whole term confidence that she has trademarked. People love it. They started, printing t-shirts and workout mats, and it was a pastor who did it. So I'm like, look, protect your stuff.
Period. But what's it called when you help a midwife, right? So I never got a chance to ever have a conversation with Elder Marshawn, or with even regards to Pastor Holland. Okay. But I've heard of coaches throughout the years talking about how, you would give them an experience that really shifted, and sometimes if we don't get the experience in church, because it's just the same old, and there's a hospital for sick people, but we don't have the experience to take up our mat and walk, with regards to it.
When do the people ever get healed? Like, I keep hearing that. Well, that's one of the questions, right? I keep having, right? I get it. Church is for sick people, but it shouldn't be all the people in the church that is sick
Mm,
over a long period of time. At
yeah.
some point, don't you get
But
healed?
I mean, at some point, people do get healed. But the thing about it is, they may get healed at their level. And I have to stop judging, with regards to it. Now, me at my level, my mama told me, my mama passed away, and I have a adopted mom that I wanted to shift my whole experience, but that's a whole different conversation. But my mama always said, Toni, and she had a GED, because she was like, no, I got 8 girls. Y'all not going to, I'm going to get something. So she did get her GED. But she said the same way that you're getting your education on this natural, you got to get it on the spiritual as well. And I ignored her because I saw her spirituality where she was still the woman with the outstretched hand looking for the breadcrumbs, until years later in my 50s, I realized, guess what? God can do a lot of work with breadcrumbs. All I need is a mustard seed, but it was the breadcrumbs in her hand because of her mentality and her trauma that she didn't get a chance to heal from is a lot different than the breadcrumbs in my hand. You give me a piece of breadcrumb, let me ear hustle something, okay? I am going to leverage it, and I'm going to shift that experience, and then I'm going to go back and tell more of my sister girls, because I want to see more of us appreciate that we don't need to clean the table. Ear hustle
Right.
from the table and leverage what you know to make that cash flow grow. But when you say it's hard to heal what you don't identify from, that's a biggie right there. So if I don't identify as the wealthy woman, I'm not going to heal the woman who is hurt. I went to this brain spotting class. I was the only non-therapist, but I realized that I had a worth issue, and a lot of us have a worth issue. My mama was, trying to get out of her daddy's house, and she was sleeping with folks, and she didn't get impregnated the first time by the man who she wanted. That was a different story. The second time around, she did get impregnated by the man that she wanted, but she didn't realize that he was in drug rehab. So she found another man to show up on my birth certificate. And I ended up ingesting her worth issues. So it wasn't until I took that brain spotting class. It wasn't in none of the churches, because unfortunately, I have gotten so used to hearing church speak that it didn't pierce my heart. But when I realized that I had a worth issue from something that was carried on in utero from my mama, I bust out crying, because truth hurts, or it makes you laugh or whatever. And then I realized, once I saw it, I said, okay, now I know what to pray from, from a place of healing my worth. All these years, I had to be 50 something, you know what I mean, to realize that I couldn't get past that impoverished mentality because I had a worth issue because of my mama. And there's a lot of us who don't, because hurt is so much hurt and trauma and pain, we try to forget about it. But we can't. We're more than overcomers. So we got to allow some story to overcome. We got to let that story be over. You know what I mean? So overcome the story so you could overcome and see more glory. And I just realized that for me as a church girl, I'm not a churched up girl. I ain't going to be like, what the pastor said, and the pastor said, and the pastor said, and the pastor. No, what did God say? You know what I mean? And what my good hands, what plow, I'm supposed to not let my good work go undone. So if nobody ever validates the value that God put inside of me, if nobody ever even wanted, well, I don't want to be collared anyway, but that's a different conversation. But even if nobody saw me worthy of the collar and they didn't knock on my door and say, God told me or whatever, I still got to believe that I'm worthy.
Right.
I still got to believe that his words matter. I still got to believe that the promises that is in the Bible that I read and was shifted. That's why I turned around. There was a book that really shifted. It's called A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles was written by an atheist and a Christian person.
Right.
A lot of the words are tweaked and twisted. But if you are good in your sha-na-na and you realize that you are loved, that you are a child of Most High God, that he wants you to live your best life, you can read that book and then realize that